And we'll continue. We'll continue with one more interesting discussion about the accelerating green recovery in 2021. In the discussion, we'll learn about the different perspectives from various players in the ecosystem, the cooperative, the corporations between startups and corporates. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you here on the very stage. Šarūnė Smalakytė! Šarūnė, the head of Rockit Vilnius. Sveiki, Šarūnė, hello.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Very well. Excited to see
Amazing.
live people for the first time.
Really? Really? All right. It's going to be exciting for you. Good ride. The next guest I would like to invite here on the stage is Saulė, Gabrielė, Petraitytė! Woo! Hello, Saulė. Kitą kartą jūs taip kviesti, tai nebet į boksų ringą. Saulė, žinokit, aš stengiuosi dabar, kiek įmanydamas. Saulė is a co-founder of Datahood. Also, here on the stage, we have Mr. Tomas, Kemtys, this the general partner of Contrarian Ventures. Hello and welcome. And for the also we have one more person. This is Martynas Giga, CEO of Electrum Lietuva, Lithuania. Sveiki. Geras, kaip jaučiu, I feel like in the Olympic Games, you know. All right, and we have a moderator here, one and only beautiful Greta Monstavičė, CEO and co-founder of Katalista Ventures. Hello, guys. I hope you're ready. We are ready to start, so have a good time. Give a big round of applause, make some noise. Come on, let's go.
What a wonderful start. I don't know if I can make any intro sound as exciting as this one. Yes, hi, welcome to the panel. We're going to talk about accelerating green recovery in 2021. And we have an amazing set of panelists today that are going to talk about it with me today. So, a little brief about the context of this discussion. As you all know, obviously, we have been living in the pandemic times for the last year. And even though it has brought many quite terrible things, it has also brought one good thing. And that good thing was innovation. We saw that businesses actually have the capability to change the practices, to change the business models, and to basically change the whole society to adapt. And what we also see that it is also possible to change for a sustainable way, to transform us. So this is exactly what we're going to talk about today. We're not going to talk about why we need to change. I hope that all of you are already there. All of you are already kind of knowing why sustainable way is important, and we are going to talk about how. So I will not talk more, and I would like to ask all four of you to just share with the crowd a few words about yourselves. Who are you? What do you do? And yeah. What are we going to talk about today?
Starting from me. Okay.
Go for it.
So I was introduced. My name is Martynas Giga, and I'm locally CEO of Electrum Lietuva. That's a Latvia Energo company. Started as a retail electricity company, and I don't know now where we will get somehow. But it just seems that the last couple of years they've been changing so fast, and I think this speed of change is picking up. So where I'm today and where we'll be tomorrow, most likely, I'm not so sure.
Thanks, Martynas. Tomas.
Yeah, sure. So I'm a general partner at Contrarian Ventures Fund. It's a VC fund we suggest right there at the corner. So it's a short trip for me to this panel. We are early stage VC fund focusing on energy technologies and electrification of the mobility. So kind of climate tech, but more like niche in the climate tech space. So we invest in startups across the whole Europe and Israel. So we base here, but most of our capital is deployed outside of the Baltics. So we've been operating for 4 years, done 17 deals so far. So super plugged into the the whole European and global ecosystem of sustainable startups, but super focused on energy and the mobility. So not focused, let's say, on food or fashion or ag tech or circularity as a whole, but very specialized.
Great. Very happy to have you here.
Hi, I'm Saulė. I'm an architect, and for the last 7 years, I worked to improve our everyday life in cities. And now I'm running my first company, Datahood, where we focus on intersection between data and city planning. So, yeah, I'm passionate about cities and data, and we look how to incorporate both.
So, hey, I'm Šarūnė. I'm coming from Rockit, which is the home of fintech and sustainable innovation. So, another really exciting community, a bit further away than just around the corner. And we have been actively building the community on fintech for the past 5 years. But actually, with the recent years, we have seen more impactful ideas that could be done in sustainability space. And during the COVID times, Greta, you mentioned that some good things happened. So, one of the good things on our end, we launched the first B2B sustainability accelerator in the Baltics, which is called Rockit Impact Accelerator. So I'll be more than happy to share more about that as well during our discussion.
Perfect. So I think, Šarūnė, you just started it perfectly. This was actually one of my first questions that I wanted to ask. Rockit as a hub for fintech and sustainable innovation, you are in the middle of the action. You have all the networks, you are an amazing facilitator. So how do you feel, what are the best practices that you have learned to engage with and empower the others to become more sustainable?
So first of all, I would say that education is one of the most important key elements that are there to align everybody on the ecosystem. So we started with the fintech, but now we see exactly the same thing happening with sustainability. When we talk about it, we all understand it in most different ways. So first of all, how to find like a meeting point on some particular angle. So for us, we tried to discover what sustainability means for us and where is the key points of our network. And we identified startups, the innovators community, the access to corporate clients, and that we can actually make the real match here. And starting from education, showing real case examples of how things, innovation in sustainability could be done, how startups can be profitable, and delivering real stories. And people like Saulė on the stage to showcase that things could be actually done with the sustainability in mind. As well, initiating special programs and what is needed in the ecosystem right now. So programs and events like accelerator programs and more attention from the investor funds so that we actually get hands-on on helping those companies to grow and boost their products.
Perfect. I think we're very lucky today to have investors and startups and our business partners on the panel. And you've already mentioned accelerator programs. And Martynas here has been participating in the Rockit Impact Accelerator. And I want to ask, you know, it seems like a very big step to make to start kind of working on almost a new business model, a more sustainable way of doing things. How do you make that decision, and what has been your experience during the accelerator?
Like I braggingly say sometimes, like, you know, we were green before it was cool. You know, our hydro plant's been working for 60 years. You know, we are the third, the most greenest producer in Europe. You know, so for sustainability, like I say, it was always there, but it was always like at the production side. You know, it was not on the consumer side. You know, it was just happens. So we have a river, so let's produce electricity. Let's produce it cheap. You know, it turns out to be green. You know, so we were lucky in having that. But when it comes down to end user, this is where utilities are really struggling. You know, we really don't understand. And you know, for us, sometimes it's a risky business to think, okay, even though the amount is not so big, but why should we do it? You know, if it's not proven yet, you know, why should we do it? And then suddenly we realized, okay, that you know the consumer has changed and we have not adapted. You know, and sometimes you know it's just the competition pushes that because you see, okay, somebody's doing it, so it must be good. So might as well we do it. You know, or sometimes the consumer says it, Just probably just recently, what Tomas mentioned as well, we working in an energy business. We are an energy company, and certainly we also see that energy kind of extended further into mobility. So we have to be really closer to the consumer, and we cannot really do things so fast ourselves. So this is where we're trying to see, okay, so who can do it fast? Who can who's more nimble and agile in doing those things? Can we support them in having access to the consumer, but they have the better understanding, and the speed. So that's the thing, the best like partnership in the way we see it as a business partner in that. And then I think this is, in some way, this is what we found, because in some sense it was new experience for us as well. So we learned, on the way, how does it work? How does it work in Accelerator? What do we expect from the partner? And what does the partner do? What does the partner expect from us? So I think this is probably one first step, but probably coming back to your question, how do you get approval? I think approval is needed. you just have to do it. That's it.
Yeah. So what I hear from you as well is that it's not only about wanting to create positive impact, but it was actually a business decision because you see consumers going there, and this is just something that you need to do.
Of course, what I was saying as well, for utility companies, always been like, so how many bills do we issue a month? That's what the question was. How many bills do I issue? Not how many customers do I have, and how do you bring customers in my ecosystem? Because our interaction with the customer, it has been changed. Okay, so we build a customer for electricity, but now, okay, suddenly he wants to have a solar panel on his roof. Suddenly he wants to have a charging station, but suddenly he wants to go outside his house and use the same infrastructure, or have a possibility to include everything in the same bill. So it's not about the cord and to his house, but it's about, okay, so we can find this customer anywhere. So of course it's about the business decision, but at the same time the consumers are directing it as well. They demand that. They say it's good. And we as a business need to follow. And they should probably in several years ahead, it's still going to be investment, not going to be money making yet. But we need to put some stakes on.
Great. Thanks for sharing that. We also have Saulė here, who's actually on the other side of that startup business partnership. And Saulė, could you share your experience while being in an accelerator in this partnership with a big organization? And are there any things that you can prepare for that partnership?
So we at Datahood, what we are doing, we are focusing on sustainable city development, because we see that many businesses are very centered in central location, and we want to show businesses the opportunity of market in other places and neighborhoods that are not so active today. And to do that, we use data, because we want to have data-driven decisions. And we were very lucky in this accelerator because we got a partner which is the biggest telco in the region, and we got an opportunity to use their data. So for us, this was the most valuable thing, because it was very directly, and it's still an ongoing process, but we are very happy to incorporate their data. But of course, the process was very challenging, and I was quite naive, thinking from startup life that things can be done very quickly, because here in startup community we decide to do something and we can arrange things very quickly. But big companies, big corporates, no matter if company is public or private, they take time to make decisions, to go through the processes. So for me, it's number one probably advice to prepare, that it takes time, but of course the result that you can get in the end is really worth that. And basically this is the main thing that you have to prepare for. But also on the other thing, I think it's very important to understand what kind of value you could bring for the corporate that you're working with, because it's not just enough to come and say that, hey, I'm on a startup, do you want to collaborate? Big corporates, big companies, they have things to do, and they're probably successful without a startup. So you really have to prove what could be the point for them, the value for them, where could be the touch point to work with.
For sure. And I think, knowing a little bit about your partnership with Datahood and Telia, I think it's also interesting to note that it was not only the business possibilities, but also other parts, other kinds of value that you are bringing to the corporate and to the big business. So it's really, really interesting to see how you navigate all of that.
Yeah, so yeah, from telco company, what we are also bringing to them, if they have they also have their clients, so we were looking at things that we could improve for their clients as well. So the tool that we are creating is also useful for them. This is something we are also working on with other future partnership with other big corporates. So I think it's also very important. But it's also, again, comes with those touch points, depending on the very thing that you're working with. And then also other things like inner meetings, inner events that we're also participating at that big company. So we show the mindset of how we are working, how quickly things and innovation can happen. And yeah, we exchange those interests and those ideas.
Great, thanks for sharing that. So, Tommy, I see you're breathing in. It's your turn.
Just waiting for my turn, yeah.
Waiting for your turn. You're one of the most vocal investors in our region about sustainability. So it would be really interesting to hear from you when you see this, corporate startup partnership talking together about sustainability. What comes to your mind? How does that, affect your investment decision?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. It can be answered from many different viewpoints. So things like, one thing to note, maybe people don't know, our fund is mostly seeded by Ignitis Group. So we're independent fund, but most of the capital comes from them. So sort of we have this special relationship with them where we do provide a lot of innovation back to them. So we have sort of, they ping us, some of the departments says, hey, look, we've seen this demand side response, flexibility market innovations, we read this somewhere in the press, what do you guys think? Any startups we should talk to? We saw something in the UK, can you give us more? So we send them, look, we spoke over the last 3 years with these 5 guys, you should totally speak to them. So that pings it back. At the same time, they help us with some technical due diligence, some of the tech is super complicated, so we send it to their teams. And from the other point of view, sort of how do we look at the startups that have corporates at their cap table? It gets quite nuanced and complicated. So we're looking at one battery deal in Germany now, and they have a pretty significant shareholding of a big corporate. They work in their space. It's very big client for them, but also, as an investor, you always think about, okay, corporate's always very special. They're different breeds. They're not funds. They sort of can move fast, can move very slowly, but also can really hinder the growth and the progress and the process of fundraising more money. So it's, I would say, when the company is very early, when the startup is early, seed stage, general, I think you would be better off not having corporates on your cap table, big corporates on the cap table, like a significant amount. Having partnership with them is fantastic, but having them some decision power is always very, very tricky. And we invested with maybe 15 corporates, mostly Asian, big guys, battery guys, oil and gas companies, and you see how much of information they want from you, not feeding it back, and then one day they come in and they sort of almost want to veto things. So very, very tricky. We'd rather not see it at the beginning. We'd rather see angel investors, family, some early stage VC funds, really building that cap table, and with the most important part being the co-founders. So founders, the more they have, the better. If we see the cap table with 3 co-founders having 33% each, it's the perfect cap table we see. But those, but for the early stage, partnerships with corporates, super important. You cannot avoid them. Sometimes they make the business. So, if we work a lot with the auto OEM industry in Germany, if that startup we're looking at in Germany won't get those partnerships with Audi or BMW, Volkswagen, it just won't. The business won't happen. So, but it's tricky. Corporates are also different animals.
Right, right. That's great insight, right? You were talking about how the partnership can accelerate them, but the investment may sometimes hinder the growth. So that's totally. Really an interesting one.
Totally.
I want to get back to a little bit more to the how how to do that acceleration, how to work with sustainability. So my question now is, how do you make sustainability a part of your everyday work? You can choose who wants to start. Saulė is laughing, so Saulė, you go.
Yeah, it's a very good question, because I think what we do at Datahood, our final goal is it's sustainability and how to make people travel less from one area of the city to the other. So our whole destination is leading to this sustainability thing. But in general, what I really like, what I found out during Rockit Impact Accelerator, is the triple top line approach. So it means that your business should be not only net zero and not harming environment and keep without doing something bad, but it should be profitable at the same time, and at the same time making a good impact. So this is what I really like, and I think it's really possible. So yeah, I encourage everyone to look at it and discover this approach of doing business.
Yeah, we love the triple top line approach. Thanks for mentioning that. This is Katalista Ventures philosophy, our fund. So really happy that you enjoy it. How are you, implementing that in real life? What does it actually mean?
During in our startup, what we are doing in general, during this process, what we are doing, as I said, first of all, is setting the goal, setting the vision, but then also when we are choosing now companies that we are doing pilots, when we are choosing companies that might be our first clients, when we are choosing partners that we want to work with, for example, data sources, we also look at their impact, what they are doing, what's the impact that they do to the environment, to the people, to the planet. So I think this is very important, a question of the value for us. So we want to choose people to work with who are also responsible. And as long as we are able to choose, we are very, very happy.
Yeah, which is, I guess, also a little bit of a challenge, right? As a startup, you may not always have the possibility to choose.
At the first glance, it looks more difficult than actually it is, because there are many companies that are conscious about what they are doing. So.
Yeah, for sure. Martynai, I'm sure you have the right to choose. What's your take on this?
Most likely I don't have a right to choose, because this is what I'm paid for to do. Basically, well, every day, that's what I do about energy. And what's good about getting bigger and as a group and actually getting a platform, you can actually preach, what you do, and then you can say, okay, this is good. This is what happened. You might as well think about this. You might not think about 1 year, 2 years. Think about longer period. Even though as a manager, I get benefits for short-term goals, but at the same time, as a believer, I'm going ahead and saying, okay, listen, this is going to be good. You have to think about this. But at the same time, what's really important for me, thinking about this and thinking about the future, where we're going to head, is how to reach the scale quick and efficiently. This is the most important thing. How to be the faster one, and in the end, I think there's going to be a mutual benefit. At the same time for us and for customer. So in that sense, I don't have a choice, to do that. I don't think about anything else. But once I don't have a choice, I also enjoy it. That's what I do. And I'm trying to focus on where I can have the biggest impact is the energy, mobility. I'm not trying to go into other areas, because I'm not that good there. So this is where I'm the best. At least I don't think.
Right. This is I think it's also very important that we see so many organizations that are mixed up a little bit about, we want to go into sustainability. What does it mean? It means so much. It's, all the 17 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. There's so much to choose from. But what you're saying is also, the key impact areas are the ones to start from. And this is something that you can actually create significant impact in. And this is where you start, basically.
Yep.
Exactly.
Our starting point was basically measuring and understanding where we stand right now, because as well we named ourselves as a sustainability hub. We want to be the preachers for the topic and really encouraging it, but then where do we stand ourselves? And we did and went throughout the whole process of understanding our ESGs, so environmental, social, and governance aspects. And that was really interesting to really dig deeper into what you do and how you do it. So, for example, we run numerous events, but then when we speak about diversity, we really want to keep the gender diversity balance. And in the tech world, usually that's a challenge to find female speakers versus male speakers, even though they are there, but you need to dig a little deeper to find them. So we raised goals for ourselves till the end of the year, really have like 50% and put an extra effort on finding the right speakers. So I can see very well balanced panel here, you know, like a good example, but it's just one of the steps. So as well, continuing with the partners that you choose to partner with. It could be from your daily operations to people what you do business with, and it really matters. Then we run the community and ourselves. So as mentioned, education we take as one of really important cores of ours. And we did ESGs for ourselves, but we evaluated each of our members and like run a session of education of where do they stand in the bigger picture, just to evaluate and see like what's the general impact that one business can make, what they can make as a community, and what do we make as a society. So just practical things, and then we realized that you need to not only measure and be sustainable yourself, but understand where your best capacity on making positive impact can be. And that's why we started initiating those projects, you know, like Accelerator was mentioned here a couple of times. So really like be the active, proactive sometimes, you know, in just delivering the best results and shaking the industry more and more often.
Great, thanks for sharing that. I think this measurement angle is really important. You know, how can you achieve something if you don't know where you stand at the moment and what do you want to reach? Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, just really want to add a few things, and now I forgot what I wanted to add, and she said some new things. So you quickly, some concrete things that we do, as the question was, you know, what do you do in sustainability? Also like the startup, we implicitly invest in sustainable energy transition, so kind of everything we do should have a good impact, but it's always not that simple, you know, when you start looking very deeply into the supply chain, scope 2, scope 3. But anyway, so what we do concretely, we did last year offset all of our carbon emissions for the last 3 years, sort of ballpark figure of how much carbon we burned when we traveled for the office, you know, sort of some World Bank averages. So we did that for 3 years. We do that every year. Obviously, a super simple exercise. Just, you know, we pay a couple of €1,000 for such a small organization. That's kind of it. So that doesn't require much effort. So it's you know, our industry sort of looked at with a strange thing, right? Sort of, it's too easy to do. We do evaluate we're now actually working on a framework how to evaluate all the startups we invest in. So it's sort of, you invest in an electric bike company, let's say it's pretty easy, it's electric bikes, changing cars, but then we try to look, okay, how did they get those batteries? You know, how those batteries, the materials, were they mined, were they produced, how is the supply chain working? With the startup, it's pretty hard. Usually, you know, you can't push too much burden on the startup with 3 people and ideas saying, hey, you got to report me these 10 pages of data and everything. It just won't work, right? So you got to be super rational about it. But we have this framework look at not only sustainability, but also the whole ESG thematic. And it's not only sort of, we want to do it, but it's also so much push from outside, from our investors, from the other startups, co-investors. And, you know, we have, and also super interesting point in the Šarūnė said on the diversity and the conferences we run this Energy Tech Summit event every year, sort of event for mobility and energy tech, corporate, startups, politicians, so on, sort of. And you know, when you sort of scroll through the list of people, it's kind of like, you know, white male with blue shirts, no offense, you know, and kind of that. And you know, then we, especially this year, we started inviting some folks from the US, and we had multiple conversations like, hey guys, yeah, I'd love to. It's like, would you like to come sit on a panel? It's like, what kind of panel? It's like this and this topic. Who's on it? We've shown the list. There's like 4 guys. It's like, and that guy from particular big VC fund in US, like, I'm not going to do it. I was like, why? there's no women on the panel. So they have this no male policy at the fund, so they won't participate in panels where there's no women. So it's like, hey man, but look, I got a list of 100 women super smart in the mobility space that I can give you contact. You can talk to her, and she's gonna join the panel. So it's kind of eye-opener for us. Kind of understood, but didn't know how much push you get from outside. And we had some big criticism, so we did everything we could, and sort of at the end of the day, we had 27% of women in the, which is like double the amount before last year, so which is great. But also it requires so much more effort to really dig into those diverse panels and say, look, we'd love to have you. But it's nice. It's moving to the right direction. So quite happy with that.
Yeah. But to add on a little bit on what you've said about what each of businesses can do and the typical image what comes up, so to offset your own carbon footprint. So this is what we did ourselves, measured everything from day one. We really wanted to become climate neutral, but then we faced the challenge. So where do we offset? And we see some of the missing parts in the ecosystem, in the developing ecosystem, that there are not so many or barely any local projects that you can actually put your money in. So that was like a nightmare for us with a really nice result. We invested in recovering one of the peatlands, Tartokas Pelkė, nearly 1 hour away drive from Vilnius, but that was a tough challenge. So a part of just doing things nicely and trying to measure and offset, we need to create an infrastructure in having where to invest locally. A part of that, our money can go to Sweden, like all the Scandinavian countries that already have the models working, to all the faraway countries where UN has developed some of the nice projects. But if we want to create local impact, there is some of the work that needs to be done here.
Yeah, if I may add, in our product, when we were in the very early stage, we had an ability to choose where to start and where to have our sandbox, either in one of Baltic countries or in Scandinavia. But then we thought that the reason why we are here is because the inspiration to create this project arise from Vilnius, from the situation here. So it would be the best if we could make impact first of all here and to prove our concept here, and then we can scale to whatever, Sweden or somewhere else. Whenever country.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point. I think the mainstream approach of a startup in Lithuania is like, let's found ourselves here and then scale fast, but with impact, it's we have to work on impact here as well. So it's a really nice approach that you're talking about, and the peat offset and all the other things that we can actually make for Lithuania and the region as well. Thanks for sharing that. I have an intriguing question about the future, right? What would you say, what is the next innovation and sustainability that you'd like to work on? Let's imagine another accelerator in, I don't know, next year, and what do you want to work with there? Where do we need that innovation?
I can answer the one that I'm working on, data-driven city planning, and businesses choosing their location not by thinking of like intuitively, but basing their decision on data and seeing what's the impact of where do they open, and creating the positive impact.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can get that sooner rather than later, and I'm sure that you have many ideas for the future as well, even beyond that. Martinai, do you want to go next?
Yes, I guess I have to buy a new shirt. So 2010.
Is that a promise?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Just realized that. But yes, I have. At least we've been speaking for quite a while. I think Thomas probably knows as well that that in the corridors of the corporates, how the energy market will change. But sometimes we're still milking this cow until we can, and this is how it's working. But it's safer this way. But anyhow, when you look ahead, you understand that eventually, if you think about all the technology that's like what previously spoke about, all technology is coming away along the way. Just a question when it will happen. So the question we're thinking about: okay, will I ever even need, say, DSO anymore to connect? Can I somehow manage my electricity needs with all the technology that I can buy, and somehow can I get it as a service? Can I get it as a service from, let's say, a utility company that you can finance me and then all those things, and then just get like do it as a charge me for like each month. But I'm not sure this will happen, but eventually I think this will happen. But we've always been saying, okay, this is just around the corner, but just around the corner is still, this corner is still far away. So probably that's something that I would like to think about and touch, eventually. How do you really incorporate all the technologies and really balance, just not within the big grid, but just kind of within the small grid.
Right. Yeah, let's hope that corner is closer than expected.
Hopefully.
Yeah, we look at a lot of innovations, so think about this every day, kind of our job. But one thing we're super interested are these days is the EV batteries. People definitely will think about it, but it's hard to think about what happens in 5-10 years when there's so few cars, so few EVs on the road these days, and there's going to be a problem of how do you either recycle those batteries, utilize those batteries, how do you reuse those batteries for the energy storage, for other types of transactions, and also how all that works logistically. So we're actually looking in a few companies now, especially in Germany, that I mentioned, because the growth is already large, but EVs are still only maybe 1%, 2%, 3% of new car sales. But given what Biden's saying, given what Europe Green Deal is saying, it's just gonna. The reality is it's gonna explode over the next 5-10 years. It's just gonna happen. And people still don't think about the problem enough. What's gonna happen with the batteries? Because battery is like 30-40% price of the car. It has a lot of valuable materials in it, but you really have to run deep analytics every day on the battery to decide what's the price of it and so on, and how do you going to utilize it. So innovations in that space really interest us, or the marketplaces. We think it's going to be $1 billion opportunities for some of these startups. So we spend a lot of time in that space looking for sort of Amazon for EV batteries or eBay for EV batteries, looking at 5-10 years, not like in 2 years.
Good. Lots of startups listening and thinking of what pitch deck can be sent to you. Šarūnė.
So when it comes to my turn, I was thinking of an example when we speak in code language, right? Everybody's so excited to write a new piece of a code, to work on something sexy, something new, something exciting. But that's not, anyone's wish to really fix anyone's code. And this is like the dirty job to do for many. So I believe working on the projects like for the brighter future, that's really great. But as well, we'll need to look back on the impact that was already created, the negative impact. So, and when we speak about projects in a larger scale, about the ocean cleanup and our sea life, what's happening there, because very soon we can have very fancy electric cars, but no sea life under the water. So it was really shocking. Like half of the Lithuanians visited Tenerife this year, and that was went whale spotting and realized they mentioned that they used to see turtles every day. There used to be something 3 years ago that was nothing uncommon. Now, if they see it in one turtle in 3 months' time, in 3 years, like short period of time, that's already the change that they see life each day living on the sea. Because the bottles get stuck on the turtle's neck and they just cannot go down anymore and similar stuff. So something that would really make plastic sexy, for it to be recycled, to use all the tires that are currently kept and keep burning time by time in one place or another. So basically to find the second life for the materials, that we have so many of them, like we have very nice program with returning bottles, right? The deposit system, so something that would make unsexy sexy and something that would bring a second life or a better life even than we currently have with all this waste that is currently there.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely need not to only look forward, but also look backwards and check how can we remove the damage that we've already done. And I actually have an innovation idea that's, I think, related to that as well. When Katalista Ventures was founded, one of the first startups that we worked with was a startup working on accounting. And I was like, oh, this is maybe a bit boring. But then I was actually understanding the magnitude and the power of accounting. So if we would be able to change a little bit and innovate around the way we do accounting and account for the environmental and the social impact into the financial statements, I think we would see a lot of change. So I think it's time to end for us. Thank you so much for joining the panel. I think we've shared so many ideas. Lots of pitch decks can go to these people on the ideas that they've just shared. We learned about, key impact areas and how can we work with sustainability every day, from measurement to exciting startup ideas and partnerships with corporates. So hope there's a positive future for us out there and triple top line for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.